Hello and welcome to Dev Radio. I am here with a team full of winners from our December hackathon competition. They're the group that built AbleSphere. And guys, thanks for taking the time to share your experience today and meet us. Let me start off just kind of asking you, you're all graduates of the Microsoft Software and Services Academy. And before that, the U.S. Armed Forces. But tell us all about, just your general background in technology.
Okay.
How you got here.
All right. I'll go first. Tradell Nash, former Coast Guard officer, and that's how I got started in tech. Thing about the Coast Guard is it provides you a lot of opportunity. So I was in the field of intelligence, and there were just always very unique missions that we were responsible for. So I was always getting different opportunities to do joint work for other agencies, to come up with solutions to problems that we didn't have solutions for. So you fast forward, and this is the interesting story. Myself, Matt, Jamar, and one of our advisors, Teddy Sherrill, we're all in an office together. And this is the funny part. We were talking about ways to become more efficient and what's some things we can do in the office to be innovative. And Teddy I come into work, and Teddy's like, hey, Mr. Nash. He's like, come check this thing that just came out. It's called hold on a second. It's called Chat GPT, sir. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen before. And this is a couple of years ago, really, when it first came out, before anybody knew what it was. And so you fast forward, we had some discussions and started brainstorming, and we came up with this project that we were going to use Chat GPT to help us come up with some innovations in the office. And what that led us to was creating not quite an AI-driven program. We used AI to help us build it, but it was a chatbot, and we affectionately called it TEDBot. What TEDBot did for us is it helped us bring in all these reports from our units, from outline units. It helped us aggregate the data, normalize the data, turn it into usable information, put it in a report, and then send it back out to all these units. And it was huge because if you asked Jamar, because he was responsible for a lot of times for having to review a lot of these documents, it saved us like a ton of time. I think when we put it into numbers, it saved us like something like 60-70% work time on this particular task that we had to do every month. And it was so successful that our leadership was impressed with it. They briefed it up to senior leadership. So that's just kind of like the thing that kind of got us all like involved in it, and we've all been dabbling and working on it ever since. And then shortly after, off to MMSA I went.
That is an awesome story. That is, I maybe it's my own fault, but that's like really fast and innovative for the military. It sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the Coast Guard. That's the marching orders that they give us. Be innovative, be creative. It's kind of sounds techie and kind of I would hate to see even cliche, but that's the marching orders that they gave us, and we were thankful for that opportunity because it did require some work. We had to pull some strings with our IT folks. We had to get some different equipment and actually make time for building the software and everything else and being able to put in like some proprietary data. But I'm thankful that they gave us that opportunity. So that was kind of like the spark for me, because after my time on active duty and then doing that project, I was like, man, tech is cool. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do when I grow up.
Armani, I'll call on you next. How did you get involved in technology and to where you're at?
So the way I really got into technology, I guess, really started off like playing video games. I really got into building computers, and that's kind of where it started. And then after I built my computer, I realized all the things I could do with a computer. That's when I really started to like dig deep, get into it, and then I found out about the MSSA opportunity, and I went for it. Not a lot of people get into it, so like I was like, no, like I'm gonna get into it. I want to get into the IT world. I want to get into the tech world. And after that, I got into the MSSA. I was like one of two infantrymen in there. So I went in there with no experience at all. I was just like staring at hello world, and I was like, oh man, what did I get myself into? But I really dug deep, and I put in the work, and now I love doing this stuff. I think creating something that can help the world or change the world is just really what really gets me into like all this tech stuff. I just want to make a change.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Matt, how about you? How did you get involved with technology?
Yeah, so I'm the one imposter in the group. I'm not an MSSA grad. Turdell asked me to join the team in the very beginning because a lot of the work that we did that he already described, and then I'm an aviator by trade and currently in the unmanned system space for the Coast Guard, which obviously has a big tech component to it. But when Jamar and Turdell and I spent time together in that role, my big shtick was GIS, data visualization, and trying to, find some of those more complex back-end solutions to help support data visualization in the GIS field. Now, in this case, as we'll talk about, GIS didn't really play a part in this role, but they graciously allowed me to stay on the team and try to help out where I can. Because like I tell them, I'm good for about one hello world, and that's about it. But yeah, I mean, once you get into the tech space, right, it kind of grabs hold of you. And as we'll also talk about more through some of the questions, it's so much more accessible today, right? It's so much more accessible, for folks like myself that it's very daunting to think about the legacy way of going about doing development, but the game has changed, right? So yeah. I'm very thankful to be on the team as a coat hanger.
And Jamar, what about you? You're working in tech currently as well, and do you always know it's where you're going to end up?
It's always where I wanted to end up. I really kept my aspirations to myself. Working with Matt and Turdell when we were in the Intel world, it really piqued my interest more because I was an all-source analyst and I just saw a bunch of different, case sets, and we managed a lot of cases. And then Turdell asked me one day, he was like, "Hey, what do you want to do after your role here?" And I was like, "I would like to get into cybersecurity." And, we made it happen. And I started conducting cyber threat intelligence for Coast Guard Cyber Command. It was a fun time. Like I have a security mindset, and that's why I went the cybersecurity route and the threat intel route, because I wanted to answer the who, what, when, where, and how.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to why people want to, attack systems or gain access in the networks and just, embed themselves really deep to just monitor, communications. And if I can be a small cog in that engine to help detect a major cyber threat, that helps me and gives me the spark that I need to keep that passion, the enthusiasm to be in this tech field. So that's how I gain interest. That's where and that's why I do it.
That curiosity is so important. I mean, when I think about security, I always think security might be kind of boring, but crime is interesting. Yeah. And we start getting curious about how crime works. That's
absolutely.
So the challenge that you guys chose to work on, it was, essentially right now, state and local governments need to make everything they do online totally accessible to people with disabilities. Department of Justice said they have to do it. They're scrambling to do it. And you guys took a really interesting approach to the problem. You created something that would certainly be helpful to state and local governments, and you made sure it addressed the needs of important, significant population. So anyone can start. Why don't you just tell us about what you built and how that all went?
Okay. Yeah, I can start off. So AbleSphere was part of going through the process, right? Requirements. So we sat down and looking at what can we do different, right? Because the name of the game was innovation, and we kind of put our heads together, being parents, most of us, talking about, like, we remember the COVID days when kids were online. I've had, when I was in college, I worked in special education at school for supporting kids with special education. And most importantly, during our requirements, talking to parents, talking to therapists, talking to teachers, the one thing that always came out was help. I wish I had more help. Parents wish I had more help with my kids. Teachers would say I wish I had more help in the classroom, and therapists at the same thing, right? Because
Yeah.
they're booked door to door. It's like, hey, I wish I had somebody who could, give me more time to give to my patients. And so that was the starting point. Matt then took that, he's being modest, but Matt is a data wizard. He actually has like a master's degree in this stuff. He went out. He went out and did our market research, and started looking at other products and started pulling down, hey, this is what's out in the world. And then from there, we collectively work together to kind of draw out requirements. What can we do different? And that is what brought us to the start, the genesis of building out the application itself.
Yeah. Looking at what's out there is always an interesting place to go. I like to look at reviews that people like complain about stuff, because like that's where they can be fixes. Where did you start looking at?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I mean, honestly, my own just Google searching, but also ChatGPT, what's out there. Because what I love about a veteran team, and it's cool because you got Armani from the Army, Jamar and Turdell from the Coast Guard, and I was Army and Coast Guard. But when veterans get together, they understand requirements and gaps. And basically, I wanted to say, hey, what is out here for this solution set? And then I pass that back to the group and say, hey, this is what they're saying is out there. Are we making sure that our requirements or our overall solution is actually differentiated from these, right? And not just a recreation of these. And can we make sure that we just keep that? And because again, these folks really, and again, they're being modest. They're really the tech heroes. I didn't know enough to really say, yes, I think this is enough of a differentiation. Can you all confirm for me? Because we didn't want to create another just general AI app that was a general solution. We really wanted to find a niche. So the general research in the beginning was just me saying, hey, this is everything that I found, gents. Just make sure whatever you do for the tech development side, that we really are creating something different here, or at least to your point, Matt, fixing a problem that maybe people are complaining about.
Yeah. And I mean, again, the judge who scored you, like, definitely awarded you high on this is new, haven't seen this before.
Yeah.
So, Jamar, part of the problem is you've only got 2 weeks and you've got day jobs and you're trying to build this thing that no one's built before. What was the process like for you? How do you contribute to the team with that speed
I contributed
problem?
to the I contributed to the team as far as adding a cybersecurity aspect to the project. So as far as like research methodologies and threat intelligence, I was able to conduct OSINT, open source intelligence and threat hunting, and actively monitor platforms such as the MITRE attack and CISA advisories, and even as well as dark web forums to gain actionable intelligence and provide great and valuable information on vectors targeting artificial intelligence systems. So I just use that information to collaborate with everyone, and to keep everyone informed as far as building the project about novel adversary techniques and data and different types of data breaches.
25% of the score for the innovation challenge is the responsible AI standard, and what you described is key to that, especially a solution like yours where it's children communicating with the system, and so important to have those bases covered.
We have to protect the youth. They're the most vulnerable, and we take security with the utmost seriousness.
Armani, what was the best part of the whole process for you?
All of the development, fixing bugs, tearing it apart and rebuilding again because I didn't like it. It was a whole lot of craziness going on my end. I started with the front end development first. I was like, hey, Turdell, you have more experience with autism in children. What's a way I can like make this more visually appealing to, you know, a kid that might be like very sensitive to like all kinds of different like environments. He's like, oh, let's just go with like some earthy colors, earthy tones, something that's kind of calming. I was like, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
I started doing that. I started building that application, and I was like, oh, like this is nice, but I don't like bright things, so I made a dark version of it. But then when it really came to it, the part that like really challenged me the most was the back end. I without a doubt do not like back end development, and so I was just banging my keyboard for like hours, just trying to figure out how to like make ChatGPT just connect with the front end and like actually make prompts to where they come together.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest part. Like integrating OpenAI to our app was easy. Creating the front end to the app was easy. Connecting them both together was such a pain.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, it took me like 3 days. And I was like, oh my God, I'm wasting so much time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say Armani, he's being a little modest there because we had a 15 member who was supposed to do the back end,
Yeah.
but he had some things come up, and so we when we were meeting, we said, "Hey, Armani, man, this is a situation that we're in, and I know you were going to take the front end, but this came up. We're gonna need help with the back end too." And Armani was like, his eyes kind of got kind of big. He was like, "All right,
I thought one of the most interesting things about it was the ability to feel when the learner is getting frustrated.
Yeah, so that was Turdell's idea. And
I kind of felt that though when you were describing back-end development.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely smashed that button a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, again, in the data, looking at the data and kind of playing out the scenarios, right, as we're building the application, a lot of storyboarding. So it was like, hey, I'm a brand new teacher. And I show up to a classroom, and like here in Virginia, they don't separate students with disabilities out of the classroom. So I'm a brand new teacher. I just showed up, and I have a student in my classroom who may have a disability. And let's say they start having an episode or an issue that I'm fresh out of college. I'm a history teacher, a math teacher. And so being able to have that input and being like, hey, going into the app, hey, the child is X is doing Y. Oh yeah, here, no problem. They like play them some music, have them sing this song, because that would be the feedback, about our app and the education, feedback from the parent, feedback from the therapist, feedback from, any of their other providers who would be able to bring that information to the teacher or whoever and give that to them. Like, hey, this is what you need to do. This is how you can help them. And again, knowing what the child needs in the moment. Because the number said, hey, average classroom is 14 to 18 students. And on the low end, that means each teacher only gets 27 minutes per student, individual. And that assumes from the time they sign up to the time they show up to the time that they leave, they only get 27 minutes. And anybody who's ever been in a classroom knows that's not how it works. So being able to help the teacher, the data said, and also being able to help the student was what brought us to that feature and said that it would be super useful in the classroom.
Good design thinking. That's for the last question for y'all. You're relatively new, even though a couple of you had already built an AI app. But in terms of like being kind of new to software development, new to this type of stuff, was that intimidating? Was that an advantage? Did you even think about it?
Oh, y'all looking at me. Yeah, it was intimidating, especially when I reached out to put the team together. It's kind of like Blues Brothers, like, hey, I'm getting the band back together, and it's like, and everybody was like, hey, hi, all right, let's do it, sir. Let's do it today, let's do it. And so it was, but that's why I love this group. They all, I know they can all stand up for a challenge. Even Armani reaching out and coming in, everybody was up to it, and that was actually, I think we all kind of got a little bit of a high from it, because it's like, man, we got 10 days to figure out something we never really done before. Let's do it. And so I think that's really what it was just that opportunity, really, to not be scared to pull in all these skills and knowledge, right? Like MMSA, and that was great, right? I was system admin in cloud. Jamar was a cybersecurity grad. Marnie's the software CAD grad.
Yeah.
So we had those common experiences, and that's part of some of the stuff that they did to us in MMSA. Sometimes is they pull the pin and throw the grenade, and that's how you learn.
Yeah.
So I would say it was just like kind of like that common attitude, that common mentality. Let's just get it out. Let's get in there and figure it out.
Yeah. I really hope that so someday soon, each of you is going to be either asking for a raise or a promotion, or looking for setting in your interview for your next job. And I hope that they're going to ask, tell us a story about. And I hope this experience gave you guys something that will take you forward in your careers, because it's great stuff. Really enjoyed meeting everybody today, and you'd be welcome back for the next one. I'm kicking around an idea to do something around the idea of assisted employment for people with disabilities in the next one. So,
okay,
just maybe start thinking about that.
Yeah, I would be game. And Matt, if you don't mind, I would like to give like the shout out, because one of the things about our team, right, just being diverse, but it was also just having a good support system. So we had some really great advisors, Brandon Styron, and then John Bradowski, who's an AI guru. He gave us a lot of good advice and pointed us in the right direction. Like I said, Teddy Sherrill, because we went back to Teddy from our time there, and he was to kind of give us a little bit of input and guidance too. And then the last one is my wife, Sharita Nash. I was lucky enough, she's an executive coach. So when we were kind of like deer in the headlights, like, okay, guys, let's jump in. She was the one able to come in and talk us through and kind of be like that callus to get the snowball rolling. And then Armani's wife, Marissa, she's awesome. She works in education. She was giving her input and giving her advice. So we were up late at night. It was she's over there helping out. So I just want to say it's just like anything. We're the front end, but it's also the folks in the back who are supporting you. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of them and all our other mentors who've kind of helped us get to this place.
I love that. The advisors are such a key part of this, and such a key part of learning. And I'm sure you'll be talking to those folks in the future, and they'll probably be coming to you with questions soon too. So, yeah, cool. So,
right on.
Thanks again, everybody, and good luck moving forward. Take care.
Thank you, Matt.
All right, man. Thank you. All right, guys. Appreciate it.
All
Take
right.
it easy.
You too now.
Bye.